An irresponsible father despised her as a monster at birth. Years later, she regrets and cries. When 20-year-old couple Mercedes Smith and her husband Josue learned they were expecting a baby, they felt the greatest joy in the world. They couldn't wait to welcome the little miracle that would forever change their lives. However, when Mercedes was only 24 weeks pregnant, doctors warned the couple that their daughter would be born with an unfortunate facial deformity that could only be treated with an expensive operation that she would have to live with for the rest of her life. Despite the warnings, Mercedes decided not to terminate the pregnancy, and when the girl was born, Josue was horrified by his own daughter's face, and he said something so horrible that it left his tender wife in tears from the pain. Receiving the news that you are expecting a baby is undoubtedly one of those things that changes your life, for the love you experience is like no other. And you can't help but pray that everything goes well with your little one, since from now on you will be in charge of caring for and protecting another human being. Unfortunately, there are many bad parents who abandon their children just because they are different. This is the story of Mercedes, a 20-year-old girl who lived in the state of Texas in the United States. She lived with her young husband. Although they did not have many possessions, they were very happy together and were constantly engaged in activities to keep the flame of their marriage alive. Until one day, Mercedes began to feel strange symptoms throughout her body. She was very nauseous and felt like vomiting and had strange cravings when it was time to eat. Soon, the couple began to suspect that perhaps the young woman was expecting a daughter. And after purchasing a home pregnancy test, they confirmed that Mercedes was indeed pregnant with a girl they would name Guadalupe in honor of the little virgin to whom they were very devoted. Mercedes only wanted her daughter to be born healthy. The woman did not care about the superficial. She loved her daughter from the first day she found out she was pregnant and would continue to love her no matter what she looked like. Months passed and the couple grew more and more excited about the arrival of their little girl. But what they never imagined was that in the 6th month of pregnancy, the couple would receive news that would make their hair stand on end. The doctor notified them that their daughter suffered from a very strange deformity commonly known as hydrocephalus, a congenital defect characterized by an increase in the size of the head in newborns, causing the infant to experience a terrible headache, defective eyesight, cognitive difficulties, incontinence, and a loss of coordination. Upon receiving the news, Mercedes and her husband began to cry dramatically. The couple was terrified for the health of their little girl who would never have a normal life like the other children. The doctor assured the couple that they had nothing to worry about, as their daughter's condition was quite common in the world. There are many cases in the world like their Guadalupes, and with constant care we will be able to give the little girl a dignified life, the doctor affirmed. Unfortunately, Josue did not want to listen. Very disappointed, he left the doctor's office, leaving his pregnant wife alone. From that moment on, the relationship between Mercedes and her husband became distant. They fought frequently over unimportant things, and the man wanted nothing to do with the pregnancy. He only went out to get drunk with his friends. For her part, Mercedes did not complain, hoping that her husband would come to his senses when the baby was born. So the day of the delivery arrived as planned, and Guadalupe was born without many complications. In her mother's eyes, she was the most beautiful girl in the world. No matter her deformity, she loved and cherished her just the same. Unfortunately, the baby's father did not feel the same way, and when he saw the baby for the first time, all he felt was contempt for his own daughter, saying, "This monster cannot be my daughter. I can't let them see me with this ugly thing. It would ruin my reputation forever." So much was the rejection that Josue felt that he did not want to know anything more about little Guadalupe or his wife and left them that same afternoon. He refused to recognize the child as his own and left poor Mercedes with the responsibility of being a single mother. The poor mother would begin to weep without rest when she learned of her husband's departure. She could not believe how a man could be so cruel as to deny his own family, even more so during the birth of her first daughter. Despite her pain, Mercedes never stopped loving her little girl, and with all her strength she promised heaven that she would never leave her alone and would do everything possible to guarantee her a dignified and healthy life. The operation to correct the hydrocephalus was very expensive, and if it was not performed within the first few years of life, The girl ran the risk of dying horribly. The first few months were not easy for mother and daughter. Mercedes asked for a loan from the bank to pay for the operation that her daughter needed, but they refused. And she could not work because she had to take care of Guadalupe, who needed very special care due to her deformity. In spite of everything, they both managed to get ahead. Mercedes was very proud of her little girl's development and constantly uploaded photos of both of them to social networks. The woman sought to raise awareness about her daughter's hydrocephalus and to create a better world where everyone can live together regardless of the fact that they were born a little different from others. With a lot of effort and dedication, the poor mother managed to support her family by working part-time in the evenings and leaving the child with a nanny in order to pay the rent and household expenses. While during the day she took care of her daughter, being both mother and father to Guadalupe, hoping that some help would fall from the sky to get her out of that situation. So it was that one day in the morning while Mercedes and her daughter were finishing their meal at a restaurant they used to go to, a very tall and handsome man approached the table where they were. And before the woman's incredulous gaze, the man introduced himself as James, one of the founding members of the A New Hope Foundation, a nonprofit organization that supports children with hydrocephalus so that they can afford surgical, medical, dental, psychological, and nutritional treatments for their integration into society with a better quality of life. Mr. James had long seen Guadalupe's photos on social media and was aware of all the awareness work Mercedes was doing to educate people about hydrocephalus. "Nice to meet you, Mercedes. I've been wanting to talk to you for several months now, but over the internet it has been totally impossible. What a coincidence that we meet here and now," James told her. After saying that, the man took an envelope out of his pocket and eagerly handed it to Mercedes. Upon opening the envelope, the young mother began to sob with joy, for inside was more than $30,000 in cash, along with a note that read, "For your daughter from A New Hope Foundation." Mercedes at that moment got up from the table and with a big smile gave Mr. James a big hug, thanking him for such a noble gesture. In this way, the fund managed by this gentleman took care of the medical expenses for the beautiful Guadalupe. And not satisfied with that, they hired her mother Mercedes as a publicist of the foundation, because no one better than her knew how to make people aware of the issue of children with deformity. Fortunately, Guadalupe's surgery went perfectly, and today she is alive and attending school for children with conditions like hers. Her father, Josue, became a street bum when he found out what happened. He ran back to ask his former wife for forgiveness, but Mercedes refused to take him back, as he did not deserve any forgiveness for having despised an innocent child just because she was born a little different.